I just heard an interessante Maisa about the name Reb Leivik. We know that the Rebbe's father was called Reb Leivik. So I just heard a Maisa recently that there was a chassid, Reb Simcha Gorodetsky. I think that's who it was, almost sure. And he was a Bach in yeshiva. And those days, yeshiva in Russia, in Lubavitch, they used to send Bachrim around to collect money for the yeshiva. Of course, they would also chazak chassidus. So Bachrim would go to different cities, different places. So this Bacher came, I'm not sure if it was Simcha Gorodetsky or someone else, whatever, that chassid came to the Rebbe's city, Yekaterinoslav. And the Rebbe was there, Mistam, he was a young Bacher. So he comes, he knocks on the door, Rebbe Tzaischa opens up, and the Bacher, whoever he was, maybe he was like 20 years old, he was about 20 years old. Oh, actually, his name was Bartumer. He was Sasankin, the father of Rav Asher Bartumer. Shmedel was his name. Yeah, now I remember, that was his name. Shmedel Bartumer, Sasankin. He had a son here, Rav Asher, those who remember the Gabi in 770 for a while. Oh, before I forget, of course, this year and all shiurim are l'schos l'nishmas, Miriam Bas, Lebefraim Za'ev, Sherav Yilidus and Hasham Lamata B'Korev Mamash. Shiach Tzidkenu. Amen. So Shmuel comes as a young bacher, he knocks on the door, Rebbe Tzaischa opens up, and he says, Can ich reden mit Leivik? Now, Reb Leivik was not Stamer Rav. He was a goyin adir, gewaldige goyin, and he was the chief rabbi. He was like, he had a whole shul over there in Yekaterinoslav. He had a big shul with a big membership. It was a choshev Rav. But you know how Bachrim are. You ask a little kid, who's your Rebbe? And all they say, they don't say Rabbi so-and-so. They just say the last name. So he said, there's Leivik da. And Rebbe Tzaischa felt a little bit offended. A Bachirul, you don't have the respect to say Reb Leivik or Rav Leivik something. And she felt a little bit offended about it, but she didn't say anything. And he picked up on it. He left the house later after singing the Leivik, and he went away remembering this. Many, many years later, he came to New York, and he saw Rebbe Tzaischa, but she still didn't get over it. And I think it was more than once that he saw her, and it seemed like she did not get over it. Now, Rebbe Tzaischa on Chof Av would make in her house a shtickle verbringen. The night entering Chof Av, the following night, the Rebbe would make a verbringen. And she would invite the elder chassidim, they should say the Torah, talk about him. Who would come? Certain of the Ziknei chassidim. One time, the Shmedel was in New York, and she invited him, or he got invited, I don't know, somehow he came. And he sees Rebbe Tzaischa, and he feels the vibes. You could feel it. It was strong enough to pick up on it. And he knew he had to apologize. He had to explain himself. So he asked permission to say a few words. And he said like this. It says in the Gemara that whenever you see someone with a name, and before it says Rav, Reish Beis, he's coming from Bavel. Rav Yehuda. Whenever it says Rav, it means that Rav came from Bavel. If it says Rebbe, It means it came from Eretz Yisrael. The extra Yud symbolizes Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe explains it in a Maimer, Basilagani, called Yud Eretz Yisrael. Why Yud? Yud is Chachma. Chachma is Einei Ha'eda. Eretz Yisrael's Tamadei Hashem Alekachaba. So it has to do with Eretz Yisrael. So anytime you call someone with the word Rebbe, it means it from Eretz Yisrael. Then the Gemara says, Godel mirabon shmai. When you say Rabban with a line genun, it's even a very great Rebbe. Who's greater than Rabban? So you have progression. Rav, Rabbi, Rabban, and who's the greatest? Shmam. It says in Gemara, when you call the person by his first name, like we have many times, Amar Shmuel, you have places in the Gemara where it just says people by their first name. That means he's the greatest of all. When she heard this, she became appeased and everything got back to normal. So that's just talking about when we're saying the name of Levi. I was named after Levi, although my name was not given to me Levi Yitzchak, because I have an older brother. He's a shliach in Spain. His name is Yitzchak. The reason he was called Yitzchak, it was meant to be called Yosef Yitzchak, but my father's name is Yosef. So in order to name him after the Friedrich Rebbe, because he was born after his Talkos, my father called him Yitzchak. So I got the name Levi. And later, the Eibishter mit zugegeben, the name Chaim Levi. So it's like Chaim for Alamin. Chaim. Bli neder, we have time. I do want to speak about the Levi at the end of this year. So, we are up to Perek Hay. But it's important to summarize, at least in short, what we are up to, at least the last part. The last part we spoke about, and that's where it gets into the nitty-gritty, is there are two basic levels of Nisim. One level is L'mayla min HaTeva, like Kriyas Yamsuf, Tzias Mitzrayim, and then another kind of miracles which are in Teva. They are miracles, but they are in Teva. You don't see it in an open way like the sea splitting open. In Teva itself, there are three levels of miracles in Teva. Number one is like Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah and Purim, where people saw something very special happen, was miraculous. But you were able to explain it al pi Teva. That Esther Amelka, she invited Haman, and then she this and that. The whole sequence of events was explainable, how it went through nature, but it was a miraculous procedure. The sequence was miraculous. So it's a miracle in nature, and nature did not cover up that much of the miracle. So you saw the miracle. And that's why you say Baruch Shas Nisim. Another example that I ever gave, if someone was in by a collapsed wall and he was saved, it's mamish a miracle. A collapsed wall, we know what can happen. So that's again a miracle which is in Teva, nothing earth-shattering, but it's a miracle in Teva. So that's number two. That's number one. Number one is a miracle like Kriyas Yamsuf, or a collapsing wall, or someone almost drowned. When you're saved, mamish. Number two is a miracle of the four people that have to say Hagaimel. For example, you travel overseas, you go through a midbar, you were in jail, or a person who was sick, very, very sick, and recovered. Those are, again, you could see Al Pi Teva, the medicine helped, this helped, that helped. You could see how it was Al Pi Teva. It's more, Teva is covering over more. So that's why you don't say Baruch Shasanisim, you say Birkas HaGoyim. Then comes the third level of Nisim Alubashim and Teva. And that is Al Nisecher Shebechol Yom Iman. Ein Balanes Makib Binisai. When it's miracles that are happening constantly in nature, this very minute. But we don't pick up on them. We're not tuned in to notice it. But it's mamish in nature, the regular routine day of a person is full of miracles. But the miracles are hidden. The Elokus is hidden in nature completely. That is the third level. So in Kitzer, you have either miracles that are higher than nature, like Kriyas Yamsuf. Number two, you have miracles like Hanukkah and Purim. It's in nature, and you notice how it's something is l'maylim and ataveh, it's a miracle. Number two, in nature, is those you have to bench gaimel on, when it's a person like the Arba Tzrichim Lahaydais, the four have to bench gaimel. And number three, when you don't even bench gaimel, because you don't see the miracle, but it is a constant miracle. The Baal Shem Tov says that a nes is only if it happens once, but not constantly. If the sun never has risen in the east, and one day everyone gets a report, there's going to be a big ball of fire in the sky, and it's coming up on the east, and it's going to set in the west. Everybody will come and wake up early to witness the sunrise. If it's going to happen once, and we'll say, what a miracle. Then if it happens on the second day, they'll still say it's a miracle. But if it keeps on happening, they'll say, oh, that's the nature. That is nature. The fact that we're breathing every minute, every second, that's a miracle. In fact, our eyes are seeing, our ears are hearing. So we have things of nature that we don't realize that this is be'emes nes. It's the hand of Hashem covered with a glove. The glove is called nature because it's happening constantly. But it's the hand of Hashem. Hashem is doing it. So those are the three levels of miracles in nature. When the Rebbe mentioned the third level, which is mamish ein balanes makib binisai, we didn't even notice it. The Rebbe said those are the miracles that are referred to when you say the pasuk la'oisei niflois gedolos levadai. What does it mean levadai? He himself knows. Only the Eibishter knows the miracles. He sees them. He's doing them constantly, but it's levadai. But on the other hand, says the Rebbe, the shayrish of these miracles are levadai, from atzmos and mahos, higher than any other miracle, even higher than the source of the miracle of Kriyas Yamsuf. And Allah has kama v'kama, higher than any miracle that ever was. And the Rebbe says, the more it's malubash in nature, the higher the source is. So that means, in other words, we talked about three levels of miracles in nature. These three miracles are higher than Kriyas Yamsuf in a way. Their shaydish is higher than Kriyas Yamsuf. The first level is a little higher. The second level is even higher. And the third level, where you don't even see it, it's way above nature. It's way above the level of Kriyas Yamsuf. It's levadai. So the Rebbe asked the question, Oy basoi, Levade are such hidden miracles, but it comes from such a high source. Why does the Frierdiker Rebbe, when he talks about Kimai Tzaischa me'eretz Mitzrayim harenu niflois, he's talking about the miracles that happened in Mitzrayim, gewaldige, visible miracles, the miracles that are going to happen when Mashiach comes. They're going to be great miracles. They're going to be, like it says in Medrash, greater than Yitzias Mitzrayim, than the miracles then. So why does he connect it to the pasuk Lois in the place Gedolos Levadoi? The Lois in the place Gedolos Levadoi, that category of miracles, is not at all like Yitzias Mitzrayim. Not at all like any miracles that are visible. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be real miracles. So how is it connected to the category of Lois in the place Gedolos Levadoi? That pasuk Levadoi means only Hashem sees it. And by Goul of Mitzrayim, not only Hashem saw, we saw Kriyas Yamsuf. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be even greater miracles. We're going to get to see it. So how do you connect it with this pasuk? And for this, the Rebbe brought two explanations. One that we learned last week from the Tzemach Tzedek, and one that we're going to learn today from the Mitzvah. The key to this whole Maimer is that, like, if you know this concept, we'll understand both the Tzemach Tzedek and the Mitzvah. How both of them explain Pella and Gilui. What's Pella? Pella, according to what Tzemach Tzedek explains, he says, Nisim that are Mumbashim B'Teva, and that's why they're called Niflois Levadoi, Lois and Niflois Levadoi, because it's hidden in Teva. Those, the Eibishtar is going to reveal when Mashiach comes. So the Gilui of these Niflois, which are happening right now, that means the lowest level of Nisim in Teva, that we don't even see the Nisim, because we can't see through Teva. We just see the glove. We don't see what's inside. We don't see the Elokus. When Mashiach comes, the glove will become transparent. Teva will become transparent. We'll see the Neflois Gedolos. We'll be able to see it like open miracles. That's how the Tzemach Tzedek explains. And we're soon going to see how the Mitzvah Rebbe explains it. Mitzvah Rebbe says, there are miracles. Tzemach Tzedek says, what kind of Pella we're talking about? The miracles that are hidden right now. The ones that are Neflois Gedolos Levadoi. Those that are hidden, and when Mashiach comes, we'll be able to see them. Well, they'll be visible to us. They'll be revealed. The Middle Rebbe takes a different approach. And later, the Rebbe is going to merge both Pirushim together, as we'll soon see. What does the Middle Rebbe say? Middle Rebbe says a totally different level of miracles. Miracles that are dazzling, blinding. Such miracles that are overwhelming, like Kriyas Yamsuf. Gewaldige große miracles. And these miracles are so great that we have no way to digest it. It doesn't make sense to us. Like someone who will see Tchias HaMesim. You know what happened, but you just can't get it. When Mashiach comes, we will be able to digest it. We'll be able to understand it internally. The Rebbe is also going to use two terms now. There's Metzius and Mahus. What is the difference between Metzius and Mahus? Metzius and Mahus are two different things. When you see a computer, you don't have to know how it works. You don't have to know the details, how all the details, the motherboard, and all the diodes and the things inside of it. You don't have to know anything. You know the Metzius, you press this key and that key, and it works. That's all that counts. So you know Metzius Hadavar. That's the fact. Then there is Muhus Hadavar. You understand the mechanics of it. You understand what's happening. When miracles happen, we can look at it in a way that we mamish are blinded. We don't understand what's going on. Or we can understand, and it comes out in a way you understand the muhus. Let's look inside, and we'll see it how it's explained. Pei K. Yoven Zebehaktim Mashamuv Aleil Tiv Gimel Shanisim Shein Balanes Makbenisoi. Where do the Nisim come if it's a nes which ain't Balanes Makbenisoi? It's mamish covered and hidden in Teva. What's his Shadish? Shadish Hamshachasam Bechinis Levada. Like we have learned, it comes from the level of Levada. So Eb is asking a question. How is it possible for anything to cover up on such a high level of Levada? Levada means Atzmas Umulos, the highest level. Tzarech la'aven eich efshem, shelavushe ateva ya'alimu v'yastiro al nes shenimshach mebechinas Levada. How does it cover it up? And what's going to be lost in Levi? So here the Rebbe is going to introduce the Mitlan Rebbe. Inyan hu the Mehamaylis b'nismal melubashim b'teva legabe anisim shalamayla me'ateva. What's the advantage of the nisim that are melubash b'teva legabe the nisim that are lamayla me'ateva? Do I understand a nes l'mayla min teva? No. Do I understand a nes that is in teva? Of course. We understand the sequence. We also understand the arbot tzvichim lo'edis, how the medicine helped. This helped, that. The fact that it helped was a miracle that it worked. It could have gone the opposite direction. I talk from my own experience. The Baruch Hashem, what they did on Piteva helped. So it's things, you understand the Mahus Hanes. But when it's L'mayla min Teva, you can't understand Mahus Hanes. Uchmoy shemevayim, ad moem tzoi b'sharu emunah, la'idei shanes, mislabesh b'teva, u'ba b'gilui. The fact that it is coming down into Teva, like Chanukah and Purim and the other stuff, it has a mila that it's begilui. You only know of the Metzius. Those that are higher than Teva, you know, yeah, it happened. But like Mahusam, there's absolutely nowhere in our Seichel and our Midas to make sense of this. Kimai, for example, the Rebbe gives us a mashal. Let's say a guy was dead and he became alive. Even though we see that, you see this guy was dead, mamish dead. No pulse, nothing. And then became alive at Tzaischa Mesim, right? Do we know how it happened? You know that it happened. You know the Metzius. But how? How did he come? How did he become alive again? all of these nisim that are l'maylim and ateva makes no sense to us. So it does not, senem nicht durch, doesn't penetrate our seichel and our midas. It just, you know it, you know of it. The rocket ship is going up into the sky. You know about it. How does it happen? What? We don't understand it. That's why these sort of miracles that are way out of teva, that's why they're called niflois. What's pella? The pelu she'einoi musad b'seichel. You can't grasp it with your seichel. Va'ad she'akusha adam raya devar pelu u'mishtoimim al zeh. He gets dazzled. He gets overwhelmed. He gets blown away. The shtaymus who bitla seichel. It's mevatel all your faculties. That's miracles that are l'mayla min teva. What's about the ones that come down in teva? They can penetrate. It can make sense to us. Ayidei shahanes mislabish biteva huba begilui. It comes down begilui shemasigim, not only in masik the mitzios, as mahusai. You get to understand the mahus of that ness. You see exactly how did it happen? You can explain it. Al pitam v'das. Kanes the purim. Sheyodim u'masigim that we understand, that we know. Eich nisbat la'gzeda. We know exactly how the Gezeda was bottled. You can explain it al piteva. This other level, you know exactly what someone would say. So what happened to you? How did you get cured? What was the nest? I mean, what took place? You say it was certain medications. When al piteva, so it makes sense. So what do we see? What is nisim shalamaylam and ateva? Those are things that don't make any sense to us. What's nisim in teva? They're begalui. Now the Rebbe is going to translate it l'gabi the mimer that we're learning. V'yeshloima the inyan zeh sheba nisim amulubashim b'teva mehus hanes hu begiloi. This inyan that nisim that are melubash b'teva, the mehus of this ness is revealed. Which kind of miracles are they? The more they're melubash in teva, the more we comprehend them. We can say it on all three levels. Number one, nisim that are melubash in teva, like Chanukah and Purim. Makes sense. Seichel midas. Go along with it. Yes, it makes sense. We see begalui. Even the lowest level, where you don't even see the nest, but you are masig the daily routine of your life, the teva every single day. And in here there are nisim that are hidden. So those nisim are going along with you in your seichel and midas, because you understand life. This is, let's take a look inside. The greatest miracle, the greatest gilui is when it comes down in a way that it doesn't dazzle you. It's not l'mayla from your seichel and midas, like Kriyas Yamsuf. But it comes down in a very natural way, and even lower in nature, and even the lowest in nature. The hanisim shenika begalut shalavushi ateva imrak lavush lanes shemislavish behem. What's about nisim that are in teva, and you could see that the teva was just a lavush, like Hanukkah and Purim. You could tell that it went through a lavush of teva, but you see who's really behind it. You see that the Eivishter is behind it. It's very clear in the Ness. Just teva is trying to cover over. So you see that teva is only a lavush to hide it. So then you see that it's only a lavush. The teva is only a lavush. Va'afilu hanisim she'ein nika b'hem begilu shu nes. Aval mikol makom nika shu davar bilti ragel. Even those nisim that you don't really see some great miracle happening there, like coming overseas. Did suddenly a big eagle came and took you out of the midbar? No, you traveled through the midbar. We went on a ship, went overseas, or you notice that something unusual. It's a miracle, and Baruch Hashem, you came out safe. It's a makim shel sakana. The person was very sick and he got healed. And begedet pela she'enam muvanim b'seichel shalachein tzrichim la'oidis aleim doida hu bitl ha'seichel. Can a person explain what changed by the chayla, by this sick person? There was a miracle. Can you say that you really, really understand it? Can you explain it, mamish al piteva? You have another person, another patient in another bed, same situation, and he went in another direction. So it's still not totally move on al pi seichel. It is a miracle. And that's why I brought tzrichim lahaydos. And as the Rebbe emphasizes the word lahaydos, you have to be maida. It's l'mayla min ha-seichel. So what the Rebbe is saying now, that in the three levels of miracles that Al Pi Teva, the first two are also not fully comprehended. But which ones are fully comprehended? The most that comes on mamish batachtoinim mamash, ba'nisim she'ein balanes makim b'nisim. You see nothing unusual here. It's a regular routine day. Hey melubashim b'teva kol kach ad shemusagim b'seichel. Can you explain your daily routine today? Yeah, everything was al pi seichel. Nothing was unusual. But the Rebbe is telling you it's lice in the place, it's great miracles. Getting out of bed, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, going to work, coming. You say, oh, it's all nature. These are miracles that come from Levadai. And all of these miracles are things that sit well with our seichel midas. This is what we're used to every day. So which kind of nisim are the most comprehensible, are the lowest level, the ones that are hidden the most in Teva, the third level. And here comes the punchline. Therefore, we can say, we're on the next page. The fact that the nisim anim shachim from Levada, him ba'ofen, she'ein balanes makabinisoin. Why is it taka called eina balanes makabinisoin? We comprehend it. Who ki yanim anim shachim bechinas Levada, him begilui bechol makim. They go through, they penetrate everywhere, every part of your life. There's absolutely nothing that could conceal over these miracles. That's why they come down and appear to us totally in the lavush of nature. Totally. Chaim and pelaklau. There's nothing unusual here. There's nothing wonder to say this is a wonder. There's no wonder here. It's regular with you. I brush my teeth in the morning. I turn on the faucet. I got my hands wet by washing my hands. I dry them. I walked outside. All of these things are things that we experience with our Seichel and Midas. And Torah is telling us every second of it is a miracle. Just ein balones makabenisa. And it's even, and there's no pella at all. Gam loika pella darbat shetzidichim la'oides. It's not even like the pella, which is on the higher level of our tzrichim la'oides, where a very sick person got well. It's a miracle. Even though, yes, talpi teva, you explain it with because there was a medicine involved or medical procedures, whatever it was. But there was something, it was a usual thing. Make a bracha b'shemu malchus, hagoyim al hachayav m'teim sh'kamalani teim. Masha'ein came every day when you come home, we say hagoyimu. No, because this is normal life. So the Rebbe is trying to knock into our heads. There's no such thing as just normal life as nature. Normal life is miracles. It's miracles. There's such miracles that we can mamish grasp it. So now we got to understand the Mittel Rebbe's explanation. Tzemach Tzedek is talking about miracles that are way above. We see them like very high things, and that's going to be like by Kriyas Yamsuf, and that's going to be revealed to us. Which means we'll be able to. Sorry. The Tzemach Tzedek is talking about Nisim Hamulubashim B'Teva, and Tzemach Tzedek is telling us that those Nisim that are Malubish B'Teva, right now we don't see it. When Mashiach comes, so the Teva will be transparent. And we'll see every step of the day, every drop of it is Nisim. Mittel Rebbe is telling us that the greatest revelations that's going to be Begula Mitzvah Shlema, that dazzle us, that blinds us, and we mamish can't comprehend it, that will come internally. That's something we will understand. So they're like two diametrically opposing approaches. According to Tzemach Tzedek, we're talking about the miracles that are hidden. We don't see it, and we're going to get to see it. So the Pella is ployim that we don't see right now, and we're going to get to see. That's the Gilui. The Mittel Rebbe says the greatest revelations that don't sit with us, like Kriyas Yamsuf, these great, dazzling miracles, are what is Begilui? Well, we saw it. We saw it Begilui, but we didn't understand Mohus. We didn't get to understand the Mohus of those miracles. Anyone understood the Mohus of Kriyas Yamsuf? No. We just saw it. We saw the Metzias. We're going to get to see the Mohus. We'll be able to be internalized with our Seichel and our Midas. That is, and then the Rebbe is going to take both Pirushim of the Tzemach Tzedek and of the Mittel Rebbe and is going to put them together. Going to show they're really one. In other words, what the Rebbe is telling us, no one is ever in nature. There's no rules of nature. It's, yes, the Eibusha created nature. And that's what we see every day in our life. We see only nature. But we should know that that nature is the highest level of miracles. I remember once walking on Kingston Avenue on the first night of Rosh Hashanah going home, and I overheard two Chassidim talking to each other. He says, I wish this year is going to be an amazing year. And his friend says to him, I hope it's not going to be an eventful year. I don't really know what they meant to say. What I guess is we like Tmidim Kesidran. The pella of the regular day-to-day life, where it's Ein Balanes Makdinisen. Would rather not have to see miracles. Let's see that nature, that means our regular, healthy, gesunta life should continue. Of course, Mashiach coming right away, we're going to see through nature, we're going to see that that is Pella, and that is Nes. A relative of mine once came to the Rebbe for dollars and said to the Rebbe that she was just outside by Union Street, I think it was, and a van was backing up and knocked her down to the ground. And she got up without a scratch. A Nes. So she came straight to the Rebbe, it was Sunday, and she told the Rebbe the miracle. And the Rebbe gave her a bracha, you should never have to have miracles. Nicht ankommen zu nissen. We don't realize how much kedusha there is in the teva that we have every day. And therefore, this strengthens also our betachin. We're not limited to any rules of nature. Only the Eibishter is running the nature. Like I said before, it's like the Eibishter putting his hand kavayachal in a glove. But once the hand is in the glove, who's moving the fingers? Who's doing all the movements? Not the glove. Chas v'shalom. Nature is only the glove. The one who's running the show is the Eibishter. We should know that everything the Eibishter does is good. And therefore we can strengthen our betachin in the Eibishter, knowing that everything that happens in the world is only good. Toiv betachlis. I just saw, could be I mentioned it last week, I mentioned it again, a Ksav Yad from the Rebbe, Ksav Yad Kodesh, handwriting. The Rebbe writes, Psak din, Rabbi Seinu Nesienu, Tracht gut, Vet Zayin, underline, Vet Zayin gut. But the Rebbe is saying two things here. Number one, it's Psak din. From who? From Rabbi Seinu Nesienu. And what's a Psak din? That all we have to do is Tracht gut. And Vet Zayin, the Rebbe underlined. It's guaranteed that's good. So we have to work on ourselves and go with all of, if it takes extra kaiches, yes, that's why we get such a schar. Because sometimes it's hard to tracht good. But that's why it's almost like a reward for our betachin in the Eibishter that the Eibishter gives us the V'zayin good. As I said, I want to tell something from the Levi. So I'll tell a ma'aser of the Levi. Somebody told me that he heard that the Rebbe took Ari Halberstam on his knee when he was a little kid and showed him the Aleph base. And the Rebbe told him, what's an Aleph? So you would think what it says in Ayom Yom, Ches Adar. A pintel von Oiben, a pintel von Oiben, und. The Rebbe said, the Yid on top, that's a Yid who's only on top. Does everything he got to do. The Yid on the bottom is someone who's in the opposite direction. And what's the Vav in the middle? Avas Yisrael. That was the symbol. That's the Rebbe. That's what the Rebbe taught us all the years, and that's a symbol of the Rebbe Levi. You know, the Rebbe Levi used to have Rosh Hashanah, a 6 a.m. minyan to blow shofar for the Yidden who would later go to work. On Rosh Hashanah, they'll go to work. But he made a special meeting for them, 6 a.m. Imagine they come, we want to hear shofar. He'll say, so come 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock. No, we have to go to work. You want to go to work? Shkatzim, get out of here. He will never say that. You want to hear shofar? Okay, we'll make a special minyan for you, 6 a.m. So here's a ma'aseh that happened once with Reb Levi in his house late at night, and there was on the first floor, on the bottom floor, on the ground floor, was one of the communists, a Yiddish communist. A lot of the Yid fell into it, and he was like the superintendent of the building, an apartment building, and he used to keep track of everyone who came to the Levi and who left, or what time the Levi came, what time he left. He kept a log, and later he reported to the communist office. Reb Levi knew about it. He knew that Reb Levi knew about it. So one night, Reb Levi had a visitor, an old lady, an elderly woman, knocks on his door. It's almost midnight. And she asked him to do her a favor. She says, I have a daughter, a Yiddish Tochter, who works for the Communist Party. And she met a Jewish boy in the office. And they want to get married. And I begged my daughter to make a Yiddish chuppah v'kiddushin. But she's afraid. She's afraid that the communists will find out, they'll lose their job, they'll get in trouble, etc., etc. We can understand it. So I begged my daughter, let's do it secretly, that no one will know. And she agreed that we should come to the Levi, to you, and you'll make quietly a chuppah v'kiddushin. So the Levi says, okay, we'll do it. Bezos Hashem. The Levi left the house, knocking on doors from members of his shul, one door after another, telling them to go to the house to complete a minyan, so we can make the chuppah, kedushin. Then the Levi comes into the house and counts up. With the chassan, there were 9 people. We needed a 10th. The Levi could not get another person from his shul because he knew others won't come for whatever reason. Either they were communists, this, that. But Levi knows you do what the Eibishter wants, it's ein gut. He goes downstairs, he wakes up the superintendent and says to him, we need you for a minyan. And the guy looks with open eyes, says, that's what you wake me up for? And B'chlal, you want me? You don't want someone like me. What does he mean like me? I'm a communist. I can report this. And Reb Levi says, yeah, du bist a Yid. I want you. And like a shepsele, he came upstairs to the Reb Levi's apartment, and they made the chuppah and kedushin. After everybody left, the superintendent doesn't leave. He's frozen to the floor. He's not moving. And after a while, Reb Levi sees his face, the face of the superintendent getting very serious. Looks almost like sad. And he starts breaking out in a cry, becoming emotional. And he takes out of his pocket his membership card that he belongs to the Communist Party, and he gives it away to the Levi. He says, take this away from me. From now on, I want to become one of yours. In other words, he wants to be a Baal Tshuva. And Levi spent the whole night with him. He became a Baal Tshuva, a emes of Baal Tshuva, and he helped Levi in the Pa'ulos. What do we see from here? Number one, the great betachon of Levi had. Got to do something the Eibush is also is going to help. No question. Number two, don't give up on a Yid. The Vav in between the two Yuds, the Avos Yisrael, means you're looking at every Yid with a good eye. You know that even someone like him, who fell so far, can come back. And we should learn from him. We're not talking about giving up, putting our lives in danger, not afraid of the KGB. All that we have to deal with is the Yetzer Hara. All we have to do with the Choshech. But if we go Mechayel al Chayel, and we go with the Koiches that we get, especially on Chof, and we learn something from Reb Leivik, the Rebbe said it's an inyan to learn on Chof, to learn something from Toirasai, Shalbala, Ilula, and then we get connected to him, and we get, just like he gets Aliyas HaNeshama, it helps us also to get elevated. So let's hope that Hayois Mashiach is coming right away. We'll see the Vala Ilula, the Karev Mamish. He's Mamish going to come together, Mashiach Tzidkenu, all the Rabbeim in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, and we'll have the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, we'll have the biggest Fabrengen ever with our Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, bringing us to Geula Shlema. Amen. Let's put a coin in Tzedakah. Gedolah Tzedakah, Shmekareves es HaGeula. A Guten Shabbos, and Ksiva v'Chsima Toiva, like the Rebbe said, from Chamisha B'Shvat, Ba'av, which is Gematria, Ksiva v'Chsima Toiva, we can start wishing each other. So Dave Shvat Gedman, Shana